So we're recording live. I'm happy to be here with Mimi Milande.
Yes, Mimi
Mimi,
Milan.
Mimi Milan.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to do this live interview so that we can get to know a little bit about Mimi and about her interest in being a radio broadcaster and working with Florida Media Labs. Mimi, would you like to share a little bit about what brings you to Florida Media Labs today?
Sure. So, unlike a lot of my future counterparts, I'm older but young in spirit. So let's make sure that's clear. But this comes with the fact that I've always had a passion for media. In elementary, I did the interesting facts of the day at my elementary school on our morning broadcast. And then because of that, I was able to grow into becoming the TV host at our morning show in high school. But unfortunately, I left that behind, not realizing how much it played such a huge role in my life and pursued other career ventures. But like anything that is a passion of yours, you can only pursue ventures outside of that for so long before you realize what um, your desires are to do. And so, after years of working in corporate America, I decided to put everything on the back burner and pursue a career in TV media full time. And that is how I was able to meet the lovely Rob.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you found us. And of course, we're here also with Bill, who's off on the side over here, not in the front of the
Not in the
camera.
limelight.
He's the man behind the scenes that makes all these things happen.
He's leaving that for us.
So Mimi drove to Claremont today from Tampa, which is about an hour drive. I'm very impressed about that. Um, and Mimi, talk a little bit about where you see yourself in the media world, maybe 5 years from now.
So, my big picture goal is to land a local hosting position. To be honest, being able to do this um, would actually help me to start to meet or exceed my goals. I'd like to be able to have an impact on my community locally. I'm not really interested in. It would be great if I was selected to be a part of Good Day America. Who's going to turn that down? But I'm more connected with my with family and friends and with the community that's here in the Florida market. So 5 years from now, 3 years from now, my dream come true would be to land a hosting position in one of our local networks, and then I can die happy.
So, what if I told you that 5 years from now you might be able to be on billboards across Central Florida as part of Florida Media Labs?
I mean, I wish someone would have prepared me for all these big surprises today. Not only did I not know I was going to be on TV, but I didn't realize that interviewing with Rob and Bob would, that would be more than exceeding everything that I hope to get out of my goals.
So, Bill talked a little bit about the vision for Florida Media Labs while I was busy doing technical things. But I'll share a little bit more with you so that you have a little bit better understanding of exactly what we're trying to accomplish. But in the longer term, as we start to develop a larger group of interns, we'd like to be able to produce 8 hours of live radio and TV every day, and then to have a 24-hour radio station that rebroadcasts those 8 hours of live different periods during the day, so that folks that are busy when the live streaming is taking place can still
Right.
enjoy that on
On their
channel.
flexibility.
And the drive time is really important to us because when we look at how people consume information, most of us, I mean, we're pretty diverse today with our careers and the way people work. Some people are working from home a lot more now than maybe in days gone by.
Oh yeah.
But still, the majority of people get up in the morning, they turn on the TV while they're getting their coffee or having breakfast, and then they get in the car and they turn on the radio.
Yep.
And most of us consume our information during those two periods: drive time to work and home from work.
Oh yeah.
So if we want we want to get a message out to people, we have to be where they are.
Yep.
And where they are is in their cars going back and forth to work.
Yeah.
So part of what we wanted to accomplish with this was we wanted to provide a messaging platform for folks that want to be our leaders, that want to ask us for our votes, so that when they come to the community to say, we want to be your next state representative, or we want to be your next state senator, or your next U.S. congressperson, they can actually have a conversation with the community instead of the way it currently works today.
Right.
Today, with corporate media, if you want to run for an office, you are going to pay big money for a 30-second spot on television.
Right.
And you might be able to have 2 or 3 spots during that hour. And then, so you've got a minute and a half out of 60 minutes, and the other 58 and a half minutes, the whatever channel
Broadcast.
that you're on, whatever corporate entity that you are entrusting your message to,
Right.
is spending the next 57 and a half minutes or 58 and a half minutes undermining everything that you said during
Right.
your
Right.
3 30-second spots.
Which kind of defeats the money that you're paying so that you can deliver the message that you're trying to deliver.
So the concept here is that we can provide a platform where if you want to be the representative from Oldsmar or Tampa or Safety Harbor or Claremont or Lake County, you can actually spend an hour on this platform engaging in a conversation with your community.
Right.
And
access.
People can call and ask questions. You can
Right.
answer their questions. You learn more about what's important to your constituents, and they get to feel like they have a little bit of input into how you're going to represent them. And so if we can provide that kind of a platform, and if we can make this platform well attended, if we can build an audience around that, we can put the pictures of the people that are going to be on our live broadcasts on the billboards, along with our interns who are
Right.
going to be interviewing and speaking
Right.
with these folks that want to be representatives. And then it becomes a very valuable tool
Right.
for those leaders that are constantly being undermined by people with the big money.
Right. Right.
So in order to do this, it requires that we have an outdoor media presence, so that, again, it's all about being where the people you're trying to have a conversation with
Yep.
are
Yep.
at. And where they are is they're driving past billboards and they're in their cars turning on the radio. And the beautiful thing today is that every vehicle that is built today, not so much 10-year-old or older cars, but anything that's over 2006 or 2007 on the radio is going to have an aux port.
Yep.
And you can plug your cell phone into your aux port, and you can live stream
Yep.
our internet television or the radio portion of it,
Yep.
the sound portion of it, right on to your radio, just as if you're listening to an AM or FM radio channel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the bigger vision. Does that fit into the vision of where you thought you would like to be?
So your bigger vision actually makes me a lot more excited than I was walking in today. I had no idea that you guys had such a big picture focus about some of the things that you want to work on. I do have a couple of questions.
Okay, it's your turn to interview me.
So when Florida Media Labs originally started, was was this a part of the big picture? Was this a part of one of the original goals, or did some of these things, as you started to work on and build this company, kind of come up um, as you started to work on the company?
That's a great question. This this whole platform, this whole concept, actually began back in 2010 when the Tea Party was obstructing everything that President Obama was trying to do, and it was very clear that our media was not presenting a well balanced picture.
Mm-hmm.
The view in media is that both sides are equal, and you have to give equal time to each person, regardless of whose point of view is better.
Right.
From the media's perspective, there are no good guys and bad guys. They're just people with different opinions.
Right.
And I don't believe that. I think there really are good guys and there really are bad guys. And I don't think that you give racists and uh, white nationalists equal airtime with people who are actually trying to create a better future for your children and my children. I think you give the greater opportunity to or access to your platform to the people who have the best ideas. And so I worked with a group called the I founded a group called the Progressive Leadership Action Network. And among other things, we produced a book, we published a book called Fix America, where we identified a lot of these problems and talked about how we could go about solving them.
Right.
And at that time, our original plan was to create a media platform based upon the same concepts that we're actually putting into place now. And we were going to call it Newsstand Media at that time. And we were 50 people from around the United States. Our graphics artist was in New York. Our publishing person was in California. At the time, I was actually in Quebec, Florida, because had been working there on contract.
Okay.
And then we had people in Florida and people in Texas and Arkansas and just around the United States, 50 of us. And then as when I came back from Quebec and started getting resituated again in Florida, I got a little bit busy and this whole concept sort of went on the back burner for a few years. And then in 2014, I was ready to resurrect it. And again, because of personal circumstances, I put at the initial nonprofit incorporated, and
I can relate.
Was prepared to move forward when my contract that I was working on ended and finances became a bit of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took a couple more years before we're ready to actually move forward and kick it off. But it's been it has evolved to some extent, but at the same time, it's been a long-term goal.
So perfect. So you kind of touched on exactly what I wanted to ask originally, which is will we give an opportunity for everyone to speak? Or will we be more specific about the kind of political figures, leaders that we will want to attract to our program?
I think that we're going to be discriminating.
Okay, which I'm okay with.
and discerning.
But what we want is people that tell the truth, not lie, just every time they turn around.
Okay, I'm sold. That's kind of where I wanted to get to, but I just kind of asked a long-winded question around it because I do have strong views about a few things, and I want to be comfortable in the environment that I may potentially work in, the people that I have to talk to and ask questions, and so I kind of wanted to make sure that that we'd be interviewing and working with people that would be telling the truth. I think that's the best way to put it.
Let me put it this way. We really want to see Andrew Gillum win the governorship.
You're my new buddy.
Well, what's the alternative? Trump light?
According to the naysayers, there's. See, the show hasn't started yet. We're going to save some of that. We'll save a lot of that.
So, tell me a little bit about how you see this internship working for you. You live in Tampa. Do you feel that you will be doing most of your work remotely, or do you think it would make sense for you to, when you can, to actually be here in the studio when we have our sound booth installed?
So it's good that you asked that question, because before I started putting my fillers out there, sending my resume out there, I was very strategic in how far I'd be willing to travel. And if you're in the media industry, there's not, your options are not, or will be limited if you limit your geographic distance, because there's only so many media outlets for, I mean, there's probably thousands of applicants out there that want to do exactly what I want to do. So I came into this very open-minded. I was even willing to travel to Jacksonville, to be honest with you, travel to Jackson. And I have family that live in Miami. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. So I was very comfortable with having to relocate and probably stay in Miami for 6 months out of the year if I was given a special assignment, and then coming back up here as needed. So traveling to this area, which is only an hour away, in comparison to how far I was willing to travel, would be very flexible for me.
Okay. Now, another question that is that I have some curiosity, interest in, is what types of subjects are you primarily interested in? There are many events going on today, current events. There are a range of topics that are not necessarily getting the airtime
Right.
they should be given. What types of things do you think you would like to focus on, recognizing that we're talking about a snapshot in time, not your entire career necessarily?
Right. You know, one of the things that I've actually, I don't want to say I've been passionate about, but something that I've seen that there has been a lack thereof is there's a lot in the media about you know, this is a very sensitive topic. The whole the topic about the flag, right? Which I'm American born. I understand. I respect. I think there has been a lot of, in the media and an outlet, there's been a lot of advertisement and promotion of the negativity behind it, and less of the point that was attempting to be made, and the people behind it, and the positive things that the people behind it are doing in the community to demonstrate that the point that was being made wasn't to offend people, and it wasn't so that we can, you know, downgrade what America and what our veterans stand for. It was just an act, a demonstration.
Veterans.
Correct. And I think people talk about it, but there hasn't been enough advertisement of what it really stood for. It wasn't an act to be rebellious. It was not an act to be rebellious. It was a protest like any other protest. Like any other protest. I refuse to eat your food. So now, is this an act against the homeless? Is this an act against people who are anorexic? I can go on and on about this. I just don't think there was enough in the media to demonstrate what it really meant. But there was definitely a lot of vicious attacks, and it was something that was used to put light on something that needed to be shed light on. But instead, someone in their PR group was able to angle it, and they did a damn good job at that. They were able to angle it and make it and eventually turn it into something that is now being seen as something offensive, vicious, and intolerable.
And that starts at the top with the president.
Agreed.
So the Black Lives Matters is an important topic of discussion that doesn't get the kind of respect from the media
Right.
that it deserves. And the message is being undermined by, again, our own
Right.
president.
Right.
I hesitate to call him our president, but the man who sits in the White House
Yeah,
today.
he's not my president.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so and that kind of goes to the point that I was making earlier, that we give too much airtime to the wrong ideas
Right.
and not enough airtime to the right ideas. I think the flag is important too, but I think the flag is less important than the life of one human being.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
we're not talking about one human being. We're talking about
Countless.
countless,
And
almost
it was being swept
weekly.
under the rug, and something needed to be done so that it's some more exposure could be given to it. And
So we don't talk about Ferguson enough. We don't talk about
right.
New York City enough. We don't talk
Flint,
about,
Michigan.
pardon?
Flint, Michigan.
Flint, Michigan. Well, I was talking primarily about the young black men that are being gunned down by white cops.
Yeah,
Well, but not just white cops. Black cops are gunning down young black kids.
Right. Right. That's also happening. Yeah.
So,
well,
but yes.
The militarization of the police departments all over the country to begin with.
Right.
And the deification of the police department. These are our employees. They're not our gods.
Right.
Are there bad cops? Absolutely. Are most cops good? Absolutely. But we don't maintain the loyalty and the support of the police department by letting bad cops get away with bad things. And I think we're starting to see a little bit of progress in that, but it's way too slow and way too late
Right.
in coming.
Right. Agreed.
So that's an important topic. There were a couple of others I thought you might also have mentioned. The Me Too movement.
Yep.
Is pretty important, and that kind of ties in somewhat with the Equal Rights Amendment, which has been ongoing for how many years now? 40 years?
Just about.
50 years, something like that. And it's amazing to me that we can't pass an Equal Rights Amendment in 2018.
There's only a few states left, and if Andrew gets in,
Right.
there might be one more.
It's the equal rights. It's our gun laws. It's we. I mean, there's so many out there. I mean, that school was only a couple miles from where I grew up at, the one in Fort Lauderdale.
Marjorie Stone.
Yeah. And
I was in West Palm Beach doing a healthcare summit
when that
the
happened.
day that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember just having a sudden flash of that could have been my school. It could have been my school. I remember calling family and friends, and everyone was just distraught. And this keeps happening over and over again. This was bad, but it was, I mean, just a couple of years ago, it was an elementary school. How many of these acts have to happen before, a law is placed into effect to help prevent these things? And every time they happen, it's a hot topic for a short time. Everyone's doing all of these marches. It's all over the news. And before you know it, the media, specific medias, start to make sure that it's dwindled out of the conversation. And if it's not in the media, then no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
Correct.
If they're not talking about it, it didn't happen.
Correct.
So I'm really thrilled to have had the opportunity to have this chat with you, Mimi, and to have you on our live interview on our Florida Media Labs live YouTube channel. And I'm looking forward to your joining us every week as we start producing a weekly at the beginning weekly Florida Media Lives broadcast. And I know that there probably will be times when it makes sense for you to be remote and when you join us. I think there will be some value in being in studio as much as possible so that you can work with, meet, and interact with the other interns that will be working with Florida Media Live. And I'm just thrilled to have met you and looking forward to an ongoing relationship.
Yes, I'm eager and I'm excited, and I hope that this will be a long-term relationship that that will be filled with possibilities and success.
And I want to also thank all of the audience that will be listening to this podcast since we're not live streaming at the moment. And invite you all to join us as we kick off Florida Media Labs live over the coming weeks. And stay tuned right here on this channel. I'd like to give you a date right now, but we're still coordinating on exactly when the time and date is. My thoughts at the moment are Friday 4 to 6 during drive time. We might call it happy hour at Florida Media Labs.
I like that, the sound of that. Happy hour. Tune in for happy hour.
So thanks, and we'll see you on the next broadcast.